Hey guys, Welsknight here, and welcome back to another episode of Kingdoms. It has been too long, my friends. It has been far too long, but we're back in Kingdoms, and I'm very, very excited. Now, I realize we probably have some people who are new to Kingdoms watching this video, and don't worry, I'm going to get you all caught up before the end of the episode, comes, because, I know it's always a little intimidating starting a series at like episode 60 something. I don't even know what we're on. Episode 60, I think, of season 2. So there's been a total of like over 200 Kingdoms episodes before you're watching this one, but I'm going to get you all caught up so you're on the same page. We'll do a little bit of a brief world tour later on in the episode. And the other thing too is that I do for this series a world tour and download every 25 episodes. So you're never going to have to go back more than 25 episodes to figure out what's going on. Don't feel like you have to watch the entire series up to the point we're on now to know what's going on. You'll be fine. It's okay. But I have changed one thing since the last Kingdoms episode. I've been working on this for a while now. And that is, there is now a Kingdoms data pack. So let's go over those changes real quick, because basically all it is a couple crafting recipe tweaks. So first of all, stairs, just like on Hermitcraft, you now get 8 prismarine stairs, or 8 stairs for each type of thing that can be crafted into stairs. That way it makes a little bit more sense with the math. In fact, the data pack is actually a modified version of the Hermitcraft data pack. The next set of recipe changes, I don't know. Tell you what, let's fly over to our storage room real quick. And also, for those of you who are new, there is a texture pack that I am using. It's a custom texture pack made specifically for this series by me. Link to everything in the description. Link to the data pack, link to the texture pack, link to the world download, link to everything you can want to link to. There's a link to it in the description. So the next recipe change is not in this room. Just kidding. Wool is the next big one. If we grab some white wool here, and we just take a piece of dye, you would now get 8 wool for doing that, rather than having to use 1 dye per wool. So that recipe, I think, makes a lot more sense, at least in my head. Let's run over here real quick and sleep. There we go. Let's see, other recipe changes. Leather can be created by smelting rotten flesh in a furnace. That way it gives rotten flesh an actual purpose in the game, which I think is great. Hay blocks, I changed the recipe for. So now, instead of 9 wheat for 1 hay block, it's 4 wheat for 1 hay bale. And that then crafts back into 4 wheat. So reduced the cost for hay bales, essentially. Makes them a little bit more viable for building, if you want to use hay bales as like a thatched roof type deal. Let's see, what else has been tweaked and or changed? Netherwort, that's one as well. You can now craft netherwort blocks back into netherwort. That's something that I have no idea why that's not in vanilla, but it isn't for some reason or another. The same can be, the same can be done with clay. So 4 clay balls, you don't have to place them down and break them individually anymore, which I think is great. And then the last one is, I don't think I actually have any. Well, bricks. Basically, if you smelt bricks, and this applies to nether bricks as well, if you smelt the actual brick items, right, you get actual bricks, you can then turn those into 4 brick blocks instead of 1. So it reduces the grind for regular brick to what I think is a lot more reasonable of a level. And I think that's basically it. Those are the changes. It's basically just some crafting recipe changes. I don't want to go too overboard with the data pack for Kingdoms. and lose that kind of vanilla feel that we have, because this is a vanilla single-player series with a couple minor tweaks and changes, like the texture pack, like the data pack, etc., but no mods, no forge, none of that kind of stuff. So, without further ado, let's jump into that brief world tour I was talking about before to catch up all the new people so they know what's going on, and then we'll get into a little bit of building later. I figure the best place to start any sort of world tour is at the beginning. So, this is the small fort of Altum. This is the very first thing that was built in this world when it started almost, actually over 2 years ago at this point. World spawn is right down there where you see that little spruce pillar, although I have moved the actual spawn chunks for this world, but that's where we spawned in for the very first time. And the story here, the lore, if you will, because this whole world does have a little bit of lore associated with it, is this is where a bunch of mercenaries live, and they just kind of live here, and they take on various jobs throughout the world, and, do all sorts of stuff. As far as actual important things, there's a couple of farms that are located down here. There's mines. Back here, there's a sugarcane farm and a netherwort farm, and if you go down this hole, there's the Hall of Patrons from Season 1 as well. And yeah, that's basically all there is to Annona. A little wall design, some cool stuff like that. And then what I should probably mention as we're following through this pathway here, Kingdoms 1 and Kingdoms 2, Kingdom Season 1 and Kingdom Season 2, are within the same world. What happened for the start of Season 2 is I basically just packed up, grabbed a couple of bare essentials, and moved about 5,000 blocks away. So they're in the same world, they're just separated by a large distance, because I wanted to kind of reset, so to speak, but I didn't want to just lose everything that we built, like this little bandit cave, throughout all of Season 1. So that's kind of the deal there. I'm probably not going to be able to show absolutely every little single thing in this tour, but that's okay. There's a skeleton farm hanging out down here. That goes down below. Pretty simple little just skeleton drop farm sort of thing. Over here, this is the farming town of Annona, and this is where a lot of our farms are, as far as, like actual agriculture type stuff. There's a sheep farm underneath here that I don't actually use anymore because I have a better one now, but there's a little barn, couple stables, hay bales kind of spread about, another sheep farm up here, cows, pigs, all sorts of stuff. There's a little blacksmith. There's a pretty large wheat field, some other various vegetables and things. This place actually looks pretty cool if you look at it from up in the sky. Like, look at that. Just a nice little farming community, right? A little bit of a windmill. Over here, this is Soulless, the City of Light, which is far from complete. And actually, I will probably come back here at some point in the future and work on this a lot more. This is basically a place that works because of the texture pack. This place, this like lighter stone brick is actually diorite in my texture pack. And then the birch is more of like a whitish, grayish color in my texture pack than in vanilla. Although I will say the new textures from vanilla are much better than the old ones when it comes to birch and diorite for that matter. Although unpolished diorite still looks pretty bad. There's an infinite villager breeder over here. I did some experiments with breeders. I was playing around with villagers for a while towards the end of Season 1. And I actually started even building a villager trading hall, which is not there. It's down here. I started building a villager trading hall. It didn't really work. I kind of just gave up on the whole thing. My villager breeder stopped working for some unknown reason, and I kind of just got frustrated and said, I'm done with this for the moment. So we'll probably do some experiments with villagers and stuff like that in the future. But if we follow this pathway out, you'll eventually come to the next town on the list, which is Woodsong. And this is kind of a Nordic, Skyrim-inspired type place. Most of these houses here are just decorative. They don't really serve much of a purpose. There's a little bit of storage over here in the Jarl's Longhouse, which is kind of like where the leader of this little community would live, and it's all decorated. And if you go upstairs, there's like a large dining hall where all the people can hang out and eat and drink and be merry. But there's not really too much here as far as this is another kingdom or village that could probably use a little bit of a facelift at some point. If we look very carefully, though, somewhere, I can never find it. There's a ravine around here somewhere, which is really hard to see from the air. So we'll just go the easy way. We'll take the easy method of finding it, and that is if you come back here to a known little farming village. Oh, ow. Ooh, that was close. I actually almost died. There's a little underground path right here that kind of leads through. And if you follow that pathway all the way to the end, it'll eventually bring you to Rathnor, which is kind of a ravine village that I started and just kind of lost inspiration for and never really finished. That happens every now and again. There's a couple places in this world that I'm extremely proud of, and a couple places that I'm like, I really need to go back and revisit that someday. But the idea here is that the people that lived here were kind of very poor. This was kind of inspired by like Goblin Town from The Hobbit, with a whole bunch of like kind of rope bridges and, people basically living in like caves that were connected by networks of rope bridges and rickety pathways and things like that. But there's really not a whole lot to see here either. So let's move on to what I consider to be the crown jewel of kingdoms, and that is Regnum, my Roman-inspired kingdom. This was kind of the pinnacle of Season 1 and is without a doubt the thing that I'm most proud of in this world, and maybe the thing that I'm most proud of in Minecraft, period. I'm actually going to borrow this bed here real quick. Let's just take a little sleep. There's a little campway along the road to Regnum. This little pathway kind of leads you, and it's a little traveler's camp, so to speak. But you can kind of see it over here in the distance popping up. Man, I love this place. This was inspired by Rome. It's not super historically accurate as far as the colors and things like that go, but I do absolutely love this place. So the main gate is over here, and you kind of enter through the main gate. You can see a market. You see a big statue over here. The idea is that this kingdom is very kind of militaristic. They kind of glorify their military. And then there's just tons and tons of houses and things like that. There's very, very few of them that actually have interiors. But it's just tons of different houses. There's a nether portal hiding in here. There's a couple of temples. Like this one is, this was inspired by the real world temple of something. I forget what. There's like a whole little marketplace over here. There's another temple over there. They have a public bathhouse, which was totally a thing in Roman times. Little wagon crates and things like that. The big important stuff in Regnum, however, there's a few. First of all, there's our mob farm. This thing was designed by Nembon MC, not the Colosseum, but the mob farm underneath. In fact, you know what? I'm actually just going to pop into spectator mode so you can actually see it. This mob farm right here. It basically is a drop farm that works with platforms, observers, and water. Drop some... Oh, what? Okay, something's broken. Yeah, something broke here. I'm gonna have to fix this at some point. Okay, well, either way, this farm was designed by Nembon MC back in, I think, 1.12. And it works great, except for something broke with the water stream. I don't know. I'll fix it later. But basically, it was designed specifically for this world. It was made for kingdoms, which is pretty cool. And since then, it's actually become a relatively popular farm within the Minecraft community. Tango, on Hermitcraft this season, he basically built 4 of this farm in like a little square shape. That's his mob farm. It's this one, but slightly modified to be bigger and better. And then there's a Colosseum on top of it to kind of decorate it. Over here, this is the library, the Grand Library of Regnum. And over here, I keep a couple of things. First of all, I keep all my enchanted books here. Some of these chests are a bit empty at the moment, but all of my various enchanted books are here. I have that all on the first level, and then if you go upstairs, there's a couple more enchanted books, like this is just miscellaneous stuff. I have used AFK fishing farms on this world at various points. And then over here, this is where I keep the comments and questions of the day. Every episode I do a comment or question of the day, at least for the most part. Sometimes I forget, or sometimes I just don't for whatever reason. But yeah, I usually do a comment or question of the day, when I remember anyway. And I store all of them in here when I need to actually get around to storing them. So there's like an archive of all of those. What else is around here? My biggest, grandest storage room is in here. This stores all of our stuff. I've moved a lot of it over, but there's still quite a few resources kind of chilling out over here. A couple of barracks and things like that. There's just so much stuff here. I could spend forever just looking over Regnum. But I'm not going to. There's a concrete converter, not in that house. Here's the original super smelter. This is another one that I've built many times since then, but this is where it was built first. Right here, I believe. Works really well. Somewhere in here, there's a sandstone to red sandstone and vice versa converter, or a red sand to sand converter. That's what it is. Yeah, I knew it was something like that. I think it's, yeah, this one. So you put your stuff here, you put your red sand up here, and you put your regular sand up here, and you get red sand as an output. So that's in here as well. But there's a bunch of stuff. I mean, this is without a doubt my favorite of everything that I have built in this world. Just look at this. If we go to the AFK platform, hey, please, can we land on the AFK platform? We're not gonna make it. Nope. All right, tell you what. Let's just get some height and do this properly. But look at this place. Look at this place from the air. Man, I love it. I really do. This is, oh, it's glorious. Anyway, let's pop into the Nether. I'll show you the Nether real quick. I don't have too much left to actually show in this little world tour. But if we pop into the Nether, you can see just about everything has a proper Nether tunnel design. I still haven't actually worked on the Nether tunnel that will connect the Season 1 and Season 2 regions of the world. I've got the tunnel dug out. Like, I've got a very long, wide, basically 1 wide, 2 tall tunnel that goes all the way, but I haven't decorated it and dug it out and made it into a proper tunnel yet. That is something I will do at some point. But this is our, like, little Nether area. A couple of random chests. That goes to an Ice Plain Spikes biome. Down here is basically everything else within the world. And I love this Nether tunnel design. I would never, again, make a Nether tunnel using this much Nether brick that's going to be this long. But it turned out really well. It looks gorgeous. It's just so much Nether brick. But down here, there's a couple more things. There is, down here, the end, which does have an ender in it. So I do have an Enderman farm. Down this way, there's a mining mesa where there's not really anything built. It's just a mining mesa, essentially. It's just a mesa. That goes down this way. And then last but not least, if we go back to where we were just a moment ago, opposite from the tunnel that leads to the end, there's a tunnel over here that leads to a guardian farm, if you couldn't guess it from the way that the tunnel looks. But the guardian farm is down over here. We'll go take a look at that. That was built fairly recently, actually. I think it was one of the more recent things that I've built in this world to get all the prismarine that I need for the kingdom that I'm actually working on right now. And it's not super decorated, but I believe it is still functional. Let's just pop in here real quick. There we go. So there's the Guardian Farm. It's fairly ugly at the moment, but it works. It gets the job done. You're not really going to see a whole lot of Guardians spawning when I'm, like, right next to it, but you will see Guardians. Oh, there was one. Yep. They'll start falling out here pretty soon. and they'll fall down, and the drops will all be gathered into this assortment of chests, which I have mostly cleared out to make blocks for my most recent kingdom that I'm working on right now. So anyway, last but not least, we'll head back through the portal, and we'll go look at the Season 2 stuff. There's not a ton of it. It's pretty straightforward, but if you're going down, this way is the tunnel section we already looked at, the end, all that kind of stuff. If you're approaching this Guardian farm and you just go through instead of actually traveling through the portal, you just walk straight through it like this will take you all the way to the Season 2 area, and it's a bit of a trek. All right, there we go. That's a bit of a long journey, but it is doable. Eventually that's going to be an ice boat path, I think. So as far as stuff that's actually been built in the Season 2 world, there's not a ton of stuff as far as having things that are spread out all over the place. But down here we've got a beacon mine, nothing super fancy. A little bit of a mining area. If we go up these steps, we will come to the sheep farm that I actually use now, which is basically the exact same design as the one I built in Hermitcraft Season 5 and 6. I love this design. It works really well. This is the basic concept anyway, which is having, you know, a central pen with a bunch of sheep and then all the other various colors kind of spread around. And this is the town of Bullstone? Bullstone, I believe, is the name of this place. It's a fishing village, essentially. So there's a little starter. This was the starter house for Season 2, little potion area. This is a big storage facility. There is a super smelter hiding in that building right there. A couple other random houses and things like that. There's a docks area over here with some fishing nets and cargo containers, small little fishing boats and all sorts of things like that. But this was kind of the first place that I built in Season 2 of Kingdoms. Oh, there's also a chicken farm down below me. You can hear them clucking. Let's sleep real quick, and then we'll pop over to Pneumonia, which is over just out of render distance over here. And this is what I'm working on right now. This is my current kingdom. And we haven't really thought up a whole lot of the lore for this place yet, other than they're a pretty kind of open society, which is why their buildings have lots and lots and lots of windows. I like this style quite a lot. This is a very fun style to build in. But lots of windows, kind of prismarine for the roofs and walls. This is going to be another kingdom that's kind of on the scale of Regnum, the Roman place that I built. There's a big kind of manor up at the top of the hill there. And this is the new Hall of Patrons that I'm currently working on. And I'm hoping to actually finish it by the end of today's episode. I know we've spent a lot of time touring, but really all I need to do to finish this thing is kind of take care of this little ceiling in here, light up a couple things up there, and actually, put all the stands and things like that where I'm going to be displaying patrons' names. So there's not too much. As far as stuff that is in this world that I haven't actually shown in this little brief tour, there is a cactus farm, there is a squid farm, and I think that's about it. There are 2 Enderman farms. I think that's about it. There's no iron farm. I do plan to build one. I kind of want to go on a farm kick, to be honest, after I finish the Hall of Patrons here. I'm feeling very inspired to do technical stuff lately. So I think I'm going to go on a bit of a farm kick and make a whole bunch of different types of farms that this world really needs, but I haven't actually gotten around to building yet. So yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But as I said, I want to finish up the Hall of Patrons in today's episode. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that ceiling, and I'll be back with you in just a little bit. All right, guys, I am back, and I think I've got the ceiling and basically the whole thing all finished. So you walk in, you've got a ceiling here, which is kind of supported by little beams, and then I've got 4 high, slats or walls. I don't know what you would necessarily call them, but this is where all the player heads and signs are going to go on each of these. And each one of these is 4 tall and 16 blocks long. So if I go head, sign, each one of these should support basically a stack of patrons, because I'll be able to use each side of it. So we'll have 16, 32, 48, 64. So this will support 4 stacks of patrons before I need to build another Hall of Patrons. So there we go. I want to jump into the comment of the day, who from HM Purdue, who asks, do you have a tree farm? And the answer is no, I don't really have a proper tree farm. A lot of the trees that I've harvested have just been like places in the world where I can find them. You know, I say, oh, I need birch. I'll go find a birch forest and chop it down, or I will chop down an oak forest or whatever. And then spruce, I would just plant a couple of saplings and bone meal them. The thing is, I think it's time for me to make a proper tree farm, because now when you grow a 2x2 spruce tree, one of the big spruce trees, it puts podzol all over the place. So I think that's going to be something I want to build in the very near future, in fact, is a proper tree farm. But for now, I'm just happy to be back in Kingdoms. I'm warning you, I'm probably going to go on a bit of a technical kick for a little bit here, build some farms, play with some villagers, all sorts of stuff. I've got that itch. And we'll be building some more stuff over there as well, new buildings and structures and stuff too. But guys, I am out of time for this episode, so I gotta call this one here. My friends, if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Links in the description below, so check that out as well. Otherwise, my friends, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.